Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Archie's Briefings. I'm your host, Arshel Branch, and today, you guys, we are going to talk about how Kamala Harris gets Dick Cheney. I know you thought I was going to go there. I know you thought I was going to go there. I was going to go there. I was going there. Pun intended. There's no way you can. There's no way you can say she gets Dick Cheney's endorsement and not go there, especially because of we all know how she came to power. She slept her way to the top. So pun intended. We all know I was going there. I was going there. I'm not going to play a Jesse Waters. I didn't mean it sexually. Of course you did. It was a pun, and it was funny. So of course I had to go there. And chances are, if you were laughing at it, then you also knew that your mind was going there too. We had to talk about it. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's just dive into the episode of Kamala Harris getting the endorsement of Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, and whether or not that is going to help or hurt her. Let's go ahead and let's talk about that. There is something that has been on my heart that I did want to discuss. Discipline is a huge part of being productive, being lucrative. I am not for anything that goes against true productivity, true sovereignty of the individual. The choices that we make are what's going to be up for judgment. If you're someone who's interested in getting original music done, look no further than Matthew Torrance on scoresomemusic.com. He definitely knows what he's doing. I love what he's done. I am a little tempted to go out there and write some lyrics just so this guy could give me the music that I'm looking for. I think he's fantastic. And if you're someone who, like myself, wants to create a podcast, you want to create content, and you need that original score styled to your liking, he asks the questions, he gets what you want, and he delivers. So go ahead and head over to scoresomemusic.com and reach out to Matthew Torrance. I think he's incredible, and I think you will think the same too. Now let's go ahead and let's dive into this episode. Okay, you guys. So as I said at the beginning, Kamala Harris gets Dick Cheney's endorsement. Now, she, of course, has gotten Liz Cheney's endorsement. This doesn't really surprise me about Liz Cheney. This woman has already been problematic for some time, even while Trump was still in office. This was over him pulling troops out of Afghanistan, but not to the debacle that we saw, obviously, with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And there's been some uproar about this. And, I personally, the first president that I think of when I think about from when I was younger, the earliest presidency that I remember is George Bush. All I remember about this gentleman was war and someone throwing shoes at him and he dodged, right? It was like quick dodge. That's all I remember about George Bush. I also remember that people didn't like him very much at all and didn't really understand why. Of course, I was a kid, when 9/11 happened, I was a kid. My mother was on a cruise and, God had her not in the way. So that was pretty amazing to not have my mother in that horrible tragedy. But that's kind of the thing, right? We know that he lobbied for a war, didn't get one. 9/11 happens and he gets the war that he wants. He lied and said that a particular nation in the Middle East was responsible. And we found out from an audio recording that it wasn't. I believe that nation was Iran or Iraq. You guys ahead and you guys go ahead and get to the comment sections and remind me which nation that was. But the fact of the matter is he is a warmonger. Dick Cheney is a warmonger. And, when you listen to some of the socialists like Susan Sarandon, she was no fan of this man. She was no fan of Dick Cheney, no fan of George Bush. She was not happy with the fact that Ellen DeGeneres is a fan and a friend of George Bush. She's not a fan of this guy, like at all. And yet somehow people are saying, or at least Kamala Harris says, that she is honored to have the endorsement of Dick Cheney. So here's my take on this. I personally don't understand how anyone who did not like the Bush administration could say to themselves that they could vote for Kamala Harris after getting this endorsement. And we are going to look at a couple of these comments coming in from some of well-known people as well as Tulsi Gabbard, right? I mean, she did a whole interview with Tucker Carlson talking about this. This was a very big deal. And it kind of shows you where the ideology is, where Kamala Harris is. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. She's getting Republicans to endorse her as well. We obviously know that Liz Cheney, as I said earlier, we know that Mike Pence is willing to endorse her. It's not that they don't know her record. They will go onto Fox News interviews, list out this woman's record, and still say they're going to vote for her. It's mind-boggling to me. This woman's record. Liz Cheney will sit there and say, oh no, she wants to take away guns. She wants to eliminate healthcare for American citizens. She wants to prioritize illegals over American citizens. You'll sit there and you'll say all these different things, but you will still vote for her. Make this make sense. I mean, you sound like somebody with TDS. I've had this conversation with people in debates. I asked them, okay, well, you just listed to me what's your problem with her and you're still going to vote for her. I don't understand. Like, this is what we refer to as TDS, that you are allowing your hatred of a man you've never met, the man that the media has lied to you about constantly, that you're not going to vote for him because you're going to vote for Kamala Harris. And you could just not vote for either of them. I mean, that's what I did in 2016, right? I learned that Hillary Clinton was a problem, and I believed the media when they said that Trump was a racist, sexist, xenophobe. I believed those things. And so because I didn't like either of them, I just didn't vote for either of them. Now, it didn't stop Hillary from winning New Jersey. This is where I was living at the time. Did stop her from winning New Jersey, right? But I knew I could not vote for either of them. Hillary is evil. He is racist. Therefore, I'm not voting for either of them. You have that as an option, yet they're still going to vote for Mike Pence, Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney. You had this as an option. You could just not endorse any of these candidates if you don't like any of them, but instead you're going to endorse her. And it's a question of whether or not this is going to help her. So before I go any further, whether or not I think this is going to help or not, let's go ahead and let's first look at Tulsi Gabbard and what she thinks about this endorsement, shall we?
So I have to, I just feel like I brought up Cheney. You know, there are a lot of bad people in the world. I don't think Cheney's the worst person in the world in the running, but I could think about it. But I don't want that event, the Cheney endorsement, the family endorsement of Kamala Harris, of all people, to pass by without examining its significance. This feels like, if historians were honest, this is an event that they would write about 50 years from now, when the actual architecture of the world became clear to everybody. This is what's really going on. This is how.
I'm like, let's talk about that statement, right? 50 years from now, historians are going to recognize what a big deal this is, right? Because again, this crosses party lines. This is not about being Republican or Democrat. These are warmongers. And so this is the uniparty of World War III. They know what happens if we go into these wars. Like, they absolutely know that. And so historians 50 years from now, as Tucker Carlson says, this is going to be historic because this proves that greed and warmongering is something that crosses party lines. Evil doesn't party discriminate. It just goes wherever it is allowed. And it is quite obvious to me that it is thriving very well in the Kamala campaign. I'm sorry, but when you have people like Liz Cheney, who is against America First, when you have people like Dick Cheney, who is against America First, because it was quite obvious. I mean, here's the thing. People were so over the Republican Party after Bush that there was no question in anyone's mind that Obama won the election after him. They were so over conservatives, so over Republicans, because it was quite obvious. Not only did you drive us into a very long war of my time, right? You also put us in debt on a damn credit card. This is a metaphor for those of you that says not a credit card. No, he put a war on debt that we are still paying for. I want you people to remember, okay? I want the audience to remember. Britain just paid off World War I in 2015. The fact that that war happened before the 1920s, and they're still paying that, and they were still paying it off into the 21st century, into the teens of the 21st century. That is ridiculous. Okay. So the question is, what's going to happen with the war that Bush put us in? And then a lot of it seems like it was mostly about energy, not necessarily about securing the American people. And we all know that 9/11 was preventable and you didn't do anything about it. And we're supposed to believe that somehow that when Dick Cheney endorses Kamala Harris, that somehow this is not a monumental thing, that this is a good thing for America. Of course it's monumental, because it shows you that evil will go wherever it is welcomed. And it is very much alive and welcomed into the campaign of Kamala Harris. Let's go ahead and let's continue with this clip, shall we?
I have a very simple message for my Democrat friends, my independent friends, those who may not be sure about who they're voting for in this election. Dick Cheney has just made the choice very clear. Yep. A vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for Dick Cheney, the architect of everything that has gone wrong in the Middle East for the last few decades.
Exactly. Everything wrong with the Middle East is directly connected to the Bush administration and Dick Cheney. Okay? Republicans were over the Bush administration, that they voted for Democrats in droves. And so what does that tell you? That if people don't like him enough to switch sides, I mean, listen, I'm gonna tell you what I think about this at the end of it, as far as whether or not I think this is going to help her. But I mean, come on, they were warmongers. They are accused of being warmongers by socialists, by capitalists, by patriots, by American citizens who want better for their country. They're just not getting it. So, this is definitely not helping them at all.
And so it's interesting because if you listen to the New York Times or some of the other mainstream media, they're saying, oh, don't expect much from Kamala Harris in the way of policies and details and plans. And we're not going to know much about what kind of president she's going to be because she doesn't have much time.
It's like,
they're conveniently ignoring the fact that she's been there working in the White House the last 3.5 years alongside Joe Biden.
Right.
She's been the last one in the room, according to her, as these big decisions are being made. But we look at who she says, her response to the Dick Cheney announcement today was that she was honored to have his endorsement. And we got military veterans in the House. Mm-hmm. Got a lot of you who...
I'm going to leave it there. I do think that is definitely worth watching. I watched the whole thing earlier today. My goodness. I just think that it's incredible. It was an incredible interview between her and Tucker Carlson. I loved every minute of it. I especially found the honorable comment from Kamala Harris to be quite fascinating. I mean, this notion that you are honored to be endorsed by a man who is accused of being a warmonger in the 21st century. I mean, come on, if you're accused of being a war criminal in the 21st century, you don't have the guise of, oh, these laws didn't exist, right? You didn't have that the way maybe some of these bad guys during World War I got away with some of these crimes. I mean, some of the, human rights laws didn't exist at the time. So you don't have that as a guise. So if you're being accused in the 21st century of 21st century war crimes, and this is the person who is endorsing you, then this doesn't look good for you, like, at all. I do not understand why she would even say. It's one thing for someone to say, I endorse you, and then the person who receives that endorsement says, well, I mean, okay, but I don't agree with you. I don't like what you have to say. I don't agree with your policy ideas. It's one thing to say that. I mean, if you're a socialist, you don't like Dick Cheney. And if you're a capitalist, you don't like Dick Cheney. So this doesn't help Kamala in either of those regards. It gets even worse because, as I said, you guys, there were other comments. I was scrolling through Twitter after I saw this endorsement, and I just wanted to see what some people had to say. And I'm going to show you some of those comments because some of them were like spot on, and some of them are just pretty hilarious. So I'm going to show you some of that now. Okay, you guys. So the first one is by the Hodge twins. This one says, for some reason, they think this is a win. And of course, the Kamala Wins channel, I guess Twitter feed was saying that, breaking, Dick Cheney just announced he will be voting for Kamala Harris. Wow, like, this is not a good thing. And that laughing emoji is everything. Why do you think you're winning here? This is not a good thing for you. Another one is by Dinesh D'Souza. Okay, this is really where I got the title for the episode because I could not stop laughing. I think hashtag Dick Cheney endorsed Kamala Harris in the mistaken belief that what Kamala needs is another dick. Yo, like, that was hilarious. I won't lie, that's exactly where I got it from. Like, that was perfect. Such a great pun. That was so perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's really where I got the episode from. Like, that's funny. Definitely using that. Thank you for the inspiration, Dinesh D'Souza. I think he's fantastic. Side note. Another one is by Dr. Carol M. Swain. The military-industrial complex's leaders stick together. We call Dick Cheney Darth Vader. So there is no denying that people just do not like Dick Cheney. Conservatives don't like this guy. And as you go further into those feeds, especially on the Kamala Harris Wins Twitter feed, as you scroll down, you've got Democrats who are completely outraged at this. So it's like, okay, I liked you though, and now I don't know if I want to vote for you anymore because you have decided to side with Dick Cheney. We don't like him. Socialists don't like Dick Cheney. Capitalists don't like Dick Cheney. Republicans don't like Dick Cheney. Democrats don't like Dick Cheney. Nobody likes this guy. Nobody likes his daughter, Liz. And, this notion that because you have Republicans coming onto your side, that somehow we think that you're going to be a bipartisan thing. No, because look at what you're coming together on, right? You're coming together on the concept of war. We don't want it, though. We don't want it. She wants to war with Russia. We don't want to war with Russia. Frankly, Russia just came out and it was pretty much an endorsement of Vladimir Putin, pretty much saying that he is He wants Kamala to be in the White House. Of course you do, because you can take advantage of her weakness because it's called spade. That's exactly what it was. It's exactly what we know to be the case. I'm the last person in the room. Nobody believes that, Kamala. Nobody believes it. I don't believe it. I think you're a weak ass woman. I think you have the largest imposter syndrome because you've slept your way to the top. And in the Judge Joe Brown videos that we've seen, he even argued he had evidence to prove that she was getting paid thousands of dollars when she was working, I believe it was a prosecutor at the time. She would show up for about 15 hours a week. So wait a minute. You get paid thousands of dollars to only show up for 15 hours. I want that gig. Like, where's that? Right? 50, but then you'd have to sleep your way to the top. And I'm sorry. I think I'd rather work the 60-hour work week and keep my legs shut and maintain my integrity rather than be like Kamala Harris. I mean, come on. The woman is suffering from the illest imposter syndrome because she doesn't know what the hell she's doing. And this, as Tulsi Gabbard said, she makes all these conversations and, don't expect her to give out policy ideas because she hasn't enough time. But we barely saw her when she was vice president. And then when we did see her, I've never been to the border. You never been to the border. No, but I haven't been to Europe either. What does going to Europe have to do with our border being invaded? You haven't been there. Like, woman, come on. This is ridiculous. I'm going to need you, Kamala. Like, I'm going to need you at the very least. Listen, getting the Dick Cheney endorsement, a lot of jokes, a lot of puns. Like I said, the name of the episode, right? It's absolutely hysterical. It's absolutely hysterical. Personally, to wrap this up and to sum this up for you guys is I personally do not think that this is going to help Kamala Harris in the long run. As I've shown, these are some of the conservative names. But again, if you go to the thread for the Kamala Harris wins or Kamala Harris thread even, that you're going to see that a lot of people are not happy with the fact. Democrats are not happy that she got this endorsement and that she said she was honored. It's not so much as she got the endorsement. It's that she's not saying she doesn't want it. Because you could easily say you don't want the endorsement of people who you think are evil people. You could just say that, right? You're running for office. Someone says they want to endorse you, but you don't agree with their values. Well, then just say, thank you, but no thanks. I don't support your ideas. She's not doing that. In fact, she's honored to have this. Mike Pence has come out and said that he's going to endorse her after listing her record number of times, after debating her on the debate stage. Like, this is the guy who debated her. You know what's wrong with this woman as a policymaker. You know what's wrong with her as a vice president compared to your record as vice president. You're going to sit here and say that you think that she's going to be a good president, better than Donald J. Trump. I'm going to need you. And the thing is, here's the thing about it, people. I see the same thing played out with everyday Americans. I've seen this in debates, not just in the internet. Like, I've had debates in the internet and the internets, right? It's just going to do what it does. But in conversation with people who are Democrats, they are still going to vote for Kamala Harris, some of them that I know. I've had debates. Even this past Labor Day weekend, I've had a debate with a family member who says he's voting for Kamala Harris because he doesn't like Donald Trump. I asked the question, give me one logical reason for why you are voting for her. And nothing. There was nothing. There was nothing. Well, I don't really have one. Okay, so we've just established that we know she's going to lock up more black men. We've just established that she's going to prioritize illegals over the American people. She's already talking about, making sure that there's $25,000 made available for homeowners. But in the state of California, they're giving $150,000 to illegals over the American people. And why do we think that this is not going to go to illegals? And we already know she doesn't even want to call them illegals. She wants to call them undocumented, and that they too should have access to the American dream. She wants to prioritize illegals over Americans. Whereas with Donald Trump, you get the platinum plan. Well, what am I going to get with President Trump that I wouldn't get from Kamala Harris? Well, for starters, cheaper gas prices, cheaper grocery prices. That's just a start. Children might actually stop getting mutilated. That's another start. The illegals might actually get kicked out of our nation or die trying to stay. I really don't care which one they choose. We can just let you leave, or we can shoot you while trying to get you out of here. I don't want the violence, but if you resist, the officer is obligated to make it home to his family or her family. I want my American officers and soldiers to make it home. You don't necessarily have to if you're an illegal. He's going to prioritize the Americans. That's what we want. Less likely to have wars, financial audits on the federal government, making sure that there's some actual accountability with the federal government. The idea that you're going to have secure, prosperous communities again, that's a reason to not vote for Kamala Harris, because you would get that with Donald J. Trump. And if I'm not convincing you not to vote for Trump, fine, just don't vote Kamala. Don't vote for either of them. If you believe that nothing is going to change as a Democrat voter, that whoever you vote for, nothing is going to change, then why vote for either of them? And no matter how many times you tried to talk to people about the truth and the record of this woman, This isn't that they don't know, okay? Because this is one of the things that I think that we thought was the case. And Tom McDonald actually touched on this in his song, You Missed, about the Trump assassination attempt. I thought you were misguided. Like, I thought it's because you were brainwashed that maybe we can sympathize with that fact, that because you've been lied to and manipulated, essentially assimilated by the Borg, that I should feel sorry for you, or that I should sympathize with the fact that you think as warped as you do. No, you know what you're doing. You know that Kamala Harris is not good for you. You know that Kamala Harris is intending on destroying this country. You know her record. You know she's going to go after her political adversaries. You know she's going to destroy the economy more than they already have. You know she's going to prioritize illegals. You know she's going to sick the police on any gun-bearing, legal gun-owning American citizen. You know she's going to mutilate your children and have the state take them from you if you deny it. You know she's going to do this. This isn't that they don't know. In this debate that I had, they knew, okay? They knew her record. And they're repeating it to me. Okay, so we know. Why vote for her? Because I can't vote for Donald Trump. Okay, well then don't vote for either of them. No, it's my civil duty to vote. I mean, come on. And now Dick Cheney has endorsed her. Do you think that's going to change their minds? I seriously doubt it. It doesn't matter for some people. You know, you got to be willing to know that you're wrong in some cases. Like in the beginning, when this whole political red pill of mine began, I wanted to vote for Hillary Clinton because she was a woman, I was a woman, and that sounds very simple-minded, you know. But I was excited about that. And then I educated myself on it. And then she called me a basement dweller. Then she said that as a Christian, I was stupid and I couldn't vote for her. And I didn't want to vote for Trump because no matter what anybody told me, I couldn't vote for him and I couldn't vote for either of them. I just didn't want to be Hillary. My sister comes to me and says, we got a new president. It's Donald J. Trump. I was so happy it wasn't Hillary. I don't know how to feel about Trump, but I'm just thrilled it's not her. And that's exactly how I feel right now. And I keep saying this is no different than 2016. Got a bunch of Republicans saying they don't like this guy. The Democrats constantly say they don't like Republicans, but now we've got Republicans endorsing Democrats. I will say that's probably the wild card here, the wild card. Now, the question is this going to actually help Kamala Harris? So far, from what we've seen from the polls, he's actually doing better than her in some of the battleground states. His numbers are actually getting higher, and I did watch Trish Reagan. I will link that particular video in this, so that way you can see I'm not making this up, that there was a pollster who did the numbers, and it shows that Trump is way ahead. We're talking 60 to her 30 something. So with any luck that these numbers are actually going to work out, obviously we have to concern ourselves with the fact that illegals are actually voting. We know that they're getting driver's licenses, and if that's all you need to vote, they have that. So we have to really be cautious and careful about what's coming in November. Obviously, we know that there is a debate coming up Tuesday. I'm still trying to decide if I want to go live on that. You guys let me know. You head into the comment sections and let me know, do you think I should go live on the debate? I talk a lot when people say stupid stuff in the debates, and I'll be tempted to pause and play, and y'all let me know if you think I should go live. But essentially, I do not think that Kamala Harris is going to do better because of these endorsements, particularly from Dick Cheney. It was one thing when she got Mike Pence, and that really only just angered, I think, America first. I was pissed about it, but then I moved on. It's I don't really care about you, Mike Pence. Really, we didn't even care when Trump chose you to be a VP. We were really in this for Trump. And we're back at it again. It's like 2016 all over again. I don't really care so much about the VP anymore. I'm saying that doesn't matter. It does that more so now. Let me take that back. I do care about it, which is why JD Vance is kind of concerning to me. At the same time, we're still in this for Donald J. Trump. I don't think that getting one of the biggest warmongers of our century to endorse you is a good thing. As Dr. Carroll made it very clear, warmongers like to stick together. Evil will go wherever it is welcomed in. And it is quite obvious to me that making money off of war and bloodshed is quite alive with the uniparty that is Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and obviously the Dick Cheneys. Kamala Harris gets Dick. That's what's happening. And we shall see how that helps her in the polls. I don't think it's going to. You let me know in the comment sections, though. You let me know if you think this is going to be beneficial to her. I don't think so, but you go ahead and get into the comment sections and you let me know. Again, you guys, you can follow me on Instagram at Archie Financial. You can follow me on Twitter at Archie_finance. And you can support the show by cash apping me at #RShellBranch. You guys let me know what you think. I don't think this is going to work. And yeah, it was a pun. So you feminists out there, if you're mad at the title, please be mad. Please get in the comments and let me know because, it was hilarious. It's a pun. And I definitely meant it. Thank you all for watching. God bless and Kepla.